Welcome, everybody. It is 4:30, so we will be getting started. I know some people are coming in, or if you've just joined, really quickly, we are just going to go over some housekeeping, and I'll pass that over to my colleague, Sammy.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. So just a few things. This is being recorded. And please keep yourself on mute. I think most of you don't have the ability to unmute, but if you do, make sure that you're staying on mute until it's your section. And then be sure to use the chat to participate and ask questions throughout. And everything that you put into the chat, we will get to. Spanish translation is provided, so if you need that, there's a little button on the bottom of the Zoom for interpretation. And please introduce yourselves in the chat while we wait for people to join, just so everyone can get to know each other. Maybe we do like name and what you had for breakfast this morning or something.
That sounds great, Chris. Thank you for sharing. That sounds so delicious. All right. I know some people are still trickling in, so we still want to stay on schedule. So moving on, we will discuss the agenda. Or specifically, Sammy will.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Sammy Lee. I'm a junior and I'm the youth co-chair for Marin 9 to 25. The theme of this steering committee meeting is celebrating Pride Month and highlighting youth wellness initiatives. And we're also going to introduce the 2023 to 2024 Find Your Way Youth Scholarship Program and provide information on how to apply. All young people who are on this call are going to need to complete a survey at the end of the meeting in order to receive your $25 gift card. Our keynote speaker today is going to be Mavi Pilotin, who's the director of programs at the Spahr Center. And then for the lightning rounds, we're going to hear from the Find Your Way Wellness Campaign, the Wellness Festival, the Resource Guide, and the AIM research team. And finally, we're going to share some updates and community announcements. Okay, so starting us off with our keynote address is Mavi Pilotin. So thank you so much for joining us, Mavi.
Hi, Sammy. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's exciting to see some names in the chat that I recognize. So hi, friends. Yeah, I'm thank you so much for having me today. Happy Pride. I still can't really believe we're still in June. I think June becomes like a weird time continuum for a lot of us who work at LGBTQ plus nonprofits. So happy Pride. As Sammy said, my name is Mavi Pilotin. I use they, them pronouns, and I have been the interim director of programs, and I'm also the training institute manager at the Spahr Center, where we provide programs and services for our LGBTQ plus and HIV communities in Marin County. In my training role, I specifically develop curriculum for and facilitate LGBTQ plus cultural awareness trainings for local schools and healthcare providers and other community organizations, social service agencies, and really anyone who wants to hear me talk for 2 hours. You all only have to hear me babble for 10 minutes, so don't worry. But yeah, that's a little bit about my role. And I just want to thank you all again for inviting me here today. When Lauren and Gabby first asked me to be the keynote speaker, They had told me who some of the previous keynote speakers were, and I was like, wait, you're asking me? Like, are you talking to the right person? Like, are you sure? Are we on the same page? So I definitely got like a pretty strong wave of imposter syndrome. But I really am excited to be here, and I just love any opportunity to speak to community members, and especially about LGBTQ plus things such as Pride Month. So I want to thank Marin 9 to 25, the steering committee, Lauren, Gabby, and like so many other people for welcoming me to this space, and for just all of the work you all do to support our youth in Marin County. So if you've heard me speak before, you probably know that I will have to use a lot of my self-control to stop myself from time to time from like breaking out into song or just doing like a full-on stand-up comedy routine. So I will do my very best to stay professional. So yeah. I kind of feel like I'm giving a graduation speech right now. This is kind of the vibe that, that I'm feeling right now. So in true graduation speech form, I actually really want to start with a quote. It's a quote from one of my favorite people, a trans / non-binary icon and legend, Alok Vaid-Menon, who I'm sure you all have heard of, or some of you might have heard of. But Alok is a writer and an activist and just overall beauty. And the quote that they said that really sticks with me is, "I am the person I was waiting for." And to me, this quote just has a lot of power in its simplicity, and also has a lot of truth in its authenticity. It's also to me like a call to action and a call to really heal ourselves and the trauma that we've experienced and the belonging that we've been lacking. But it's also really a call to serve for future generations and to be an example of who they could be and how they can authentically live as themselves. So I am a queer, trans, non-binary, and multiracial person. I grew up in Marin, and I didn't really have a lot of people around me who could serve as a mirror or someone who shared similar identities as I did, or really as a window, which could be someone who represented what a queer, trans, multiracial person in Marin could be and could look like. So really going back to what Alok said, I was waiting for someone who, at least in my mind, didn't exist and was seen as an outcast. And so I was really waiting for a Mavi, like an older Mavi, to come around and to really show me the possibilities. So growing up in Marin, a lot of my childhood memories include learning how to play soccer at the age of 3 at Dave Fromer soccer camp. I'm sure some of you all have participated in that. Or like walking down the street to my grandma's house, which was also in Kentfield, where I learned how to make shumai and pot stickers, and often learned how to like become a teacher. And I also, a lot of my childhood memories include giving flawless performances of Whitney Houston and Celine Dion songs, probably starting around the age of 3 in the backseat of my mom's car as we drove around San Rafael, picking up my sisters at their various after-school activities. I think I actually saw my sister's name pop up on this email, so maybe or on this meeting, so maybe she's here and can attest to that. And really that tradition continues to this day in the car with my mom, and really just any other opportunity when I have a microphone in my hand, I'm like feeling really good. So I remember thinking at a young age how lucky I was to live in such a beautiful county, but my parents always really taught me that Marin was truly a bubble. We had a lot of privileges by living here, but we also knew that we were different from a lot of families. We didn't have a nanny or the like classic vacation home in Tahoe. I also knew that I was considered different, specifically because of the fundamental parts of who I am. I often felt like the only or the other. So for example, in 4th grade, we painted flags that represented the countries where our family came from. And when I chose to paint the Chinese flag as one of the only Asian kids in my whole grade, let alone the only mixed race kid, my classmates made comments like, "Oh, like, that's why your eyes are so thin," or like, "Ew, China, don't they eat dogs there?" Like, it was rough. And then in middle school, my classmates started rumors that I was gay, which in hindsight was / is 100% correct, but they didn't know that at the time. And I was called numerous homophobic and transphobic slurs. In high school, as I began to understand my queerness, I saw a poster for our school's GSA in one of the halls, and it subtly kind of piqued my interest. And the very next day, I walked past that same poster and it was torn to shreds. So through my work at the Spahr Center, I really have kind of started this process of reclaiming the challenging experiences of my youth by really working alongside and being inspired by the queer and trans youth of today. They really encourage me to never stop learning and to never stop speaking up, including their many attempts to get me on TikTok, but I can't. I'm scared. I'm scared of it. I can't do it. They also provide me a lot of just really incredible insight into what LGBTQ plus students are experiencing in Marin. So we actually did a study a while ago, of Spahr employees with local Marin high school students. And one of the responses from one of the students was, when talking about school, was the culture at, I won't say the school's name, but at the school that they attend really reflects the culture in Marin. We like to pretend we're progressive, but there's discrimination happening everywhere that we tuck under the rug. So when this student said that, this quote just like really made my heart sink. It kind of solidified in my mind that locally, not really much has changed from when I was a kid. And nationally, we are certainly not where we need to be in terms of creating more inclusive and equitable environments for all queer and trans folks. I'm not sure if you all saw, but recently the Human Rights Campaign officially declared a national state of emergency for LGBTQ plus people in the United States. This is the first time it's ever happened. And it was really a response to the unprecedented and dangerous spike in anti-LGBTQ plus legislative assaults this year. In the first 2 months of 2022, so last year, a record was set for most anti-LGBTQ plus bills filed in a year. And in 2023, more anti-LGBTQ plus bills, especially ones targeting trans folks, were filed in just the first were filed in the first 2 months of the year than in the previous 5 years combined. So there is certainly an assault happening right now on the LGBTQ plus community. More than 75 anti-LGBTQ plus bills have been signed into law just this year alone, which is more than doubling last year's number, which was previously the worst year on record. So truly, I envision a world where we can collectively build the world that we want to see. And this is not the world that I want to see for us or for our future or for youth. I really want us to live in a world that we can become the people that we have been waiting for, as Alok said. That we can become the people that our youth have been waiting for, and really that we can foster an environment where youth can become the people that we all really need. My work with queer and trans youth has really taught me that it's never too late to learn more about yourself. And it's always the right time to reclaim who you are. So I wanted to share a few of my favorite stories with the youth. So recently I was coaching girls varsity basketball at Marin Academy. And I got to know a student there who, for anonymity purposes, I'll call Tina Turner. Rest in peace, Tina Turner. Tina, this teen, was not the best at basketball, but was really eager to learn and made me feel really welcome as a new coach, like right away. I really enjoyed talking to the student. And so after leaving MA, the student and I reconnected, and she actually ended up serving as a participant on an LGBTQ plus student panel that I was hosting at the Marin Teen Girls Conference. So shout out to Crystal, who I think is here. And at that panel, Tina Turner asked the audience if anyone wanted to share like their gay awakening stories, which I thought was like a hilarious kind of icebreaker. And all of the answers simultaneously made me laugh really hard, but also cry because of how old I felt. But Tina shared that a part of her realization of self came when she met me. And she said, meeting Mavi showed me what my future could look like. And I never really had an example of queer and trans adults who could be joyful and coach basketball and work at an LGBTQ plus nonprofit and have a partner and a stepkid and live in Marin. So Tina talked about how she literally didn't think it was a possibility because she never saw it. So she said, now I know who I am and who I can become. And those words still linger with me today. I also really had the amazing pleasure of having this incredible intern this past school year who is a senior at San Rafael High and just graduated recently, or like literally, I think a week ago. So in this case, I'm going to call him Steph Curry because I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. So Steph Curry helped me develop curriculum for trainings that we facilitated together in San Rafael elementary schools and some other schools. Steph created pronouns graphics and visuals for classrooms. He advocated for all gender bathrooms and facilities at San Rafael High and within the district and beyond. And like, this kid is incredible. And I joke that I want to be him when I grow up. I want to be Steph Curry when I grow up, this teenager and the real Steph Curry. And it's just so true. Like, he's really shown me what queer and trans joy in youth can and should look like. And the last story I want to share is about a teen who actually regularly comes to our youth programs and who stops by the office because they really feel safe there. I'm going to call this teen Jonathan Van Ness or JVN for short, just like all the icons. So every time the student comes in, they ask me for a hug and like has a big smile on their face. And they actually have kind of started volunteering for a few of our different programs, and they're just really eager to help out. So JVN has been really struggling with their mental health recently, and we really bonded over that on those struggles and how hard it is being 16 in Marin and being different. So I remember that we had this talk about mental health one day, and then another day later, I came into my office in the morning and I saw a message that the student had written on my whiteboard in my office, and it said, "Good morning, Mavi, you're amazing, you're my hero." And just like walking in and reading that, just like I sobbed. This kid just like made my day just from saying those kind words. So these teens, I mentioned these stories because these teens are really my heroes, and they really inspire a lot of our work at Spahr. So I can tell you that our building and our office is so much more vibrant and highly entertaining when our local middle schoolers and high schoolers come into our office in Corte Madera to participate in our youth groups, or in our family programs, or when they teach our communities, when they serve on our student panels that I facilitate. These kids organize protests and pride marches and speak at our city's flag raising ceremonies. They lead a lot of efforts at their respective schools, including advocating for all gender restrooms or participating in their GSAs or getting more books into their libraries or anything like that. They help us in planning queer prom and queer homecoming, which we're hosting queer prom soon. They also volunteer their time at other local schools, and they, like, one youth I know just went to an elementary school and did like a reading on a bunch of pride books with little kindergartners. And they attend our drag story times, and like they are very vibrant and important in our community. And they really represent to me what Pride should really be about. We know that Pride is a time for celebration of our queer and trans communities, but Pride is also really, truly, inherently rooted in protest and activism. Pride represents a commitment beyond the month of June to really doing active, consistent, and accountable allyship. And as you can see, we need our allies more than ever right now, arguably. So really, I am so glad to be here today because I am so committed to building a future in Marin County where queer and trans youth and queer and trans folks in general are not just tolerated, but really valued and visible and vibrant. And I hope you all will join me in building that, because we don't have time for performativity anymore. And we don't have time for like occasional activism. Like, we truly need action. And so I really urge you to join me in the fight to support and empower our queer and trans youth in Marin and beyond. And I think it's really valuable to listen to our youth and really value their words, because as we teach them, they truly do teach us. So I guess I'm going to finish with a real Tina Turner quote. of they're simply the best. They're better than all the rest. And then in the words of the teen who I now call Tina Turner, now I know who I am and who I can become. That's that one line that she said that really stuck with me. And our youth have taught me that and so much more. So I just want to thank you all so much for having me today. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Mavi. And I think I speak for everyone on this call that it's truly inspiring to, have you be the change that you want to see in your community. And thank you for the amazing energy that you bring to this meeting. And so I want to remind everyone to please drop their questions in the chat. In the meantime, I do have a couple questions for you. And the first one is, I know you talked about the national emergency statement, and was wondering if there is anything specifically that individuals and communities can best support LGBTQ plus youth beyond Pride Month.
Great question. Yeah, supporting youth and everyone really beyond Pride Month is so important. Like Pride is such a good spectacle of and focus on LGBTQ plus communities, but really beyond Pride Month is huge. I really think supporting your local organizations, this isn't just a plug for Spahr Center, I promise, but I really do think supporting local organizations is really valuable. I think making a donation to the Trevor Project or something is fantastic, but really putting in time and effort to volunteer or just learn more about programs or attend Spahr events or things like that, I think is really, really valuable to really root yourself in the community and really understand what the community needs. And it truly is giving back to the youth that you see every day. If you're walking around and see a teen in Marin, that could be a teen that really could benefit and value from our resources here at Spahr. And I also just want to reiterate that the smallest of actions can mean a huge thing. Even using correct pronouns and correcting others when they use incorrect pronouns, or something like that, or encouraging others to use correct pronouns. That stuff seems really small in scale, but is truly impactful and really, really it is life-saving. We've seen that statistically and just anecdotally. It's truly life-saving to put in that effort for inclusive language. So those are just some things that I would say.
Nice, and thank you for sharing that valuable information. And so speaking on that, one of the questions from the chat is, what is one way you make sure youth feel comfortable / engaged with the work you lead?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. What is one way you make sure youth feel comfortable / engaged with the work you lead?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think one of the most important things is really involving them in planning and development and execution of things. I think if we were planning some events and we weren't taking in their feedback, then it would just be weird to have a bunch of 30 and 40-year-olds plan some youth event that's not really going to benefit them. So I think really just involving students, listening to students, valuing their voice. I was asked a question today of what's missing and why? And I think that actually really applies to a lot of youth programming, and just making youth feel welcome and safe is really thinking about what is missing. Let's talk to them, let's listen to their voices, and then let's do something about it. Let's put in that action to implement whatever we think will be helpful to supporting youth. And again, it could be just really little things coming up with community norms with them or asking for their pronouns or things like that. So yeah.
Awesome, thanks. And I want to reiterate to everyone that we will be dropping a link with some flyers and resources that Mavi would like to share out. And so our next question is, what would you say is the best part about the Spahr Center?
Oh, gosh.
Hard question, I know.
I can't pick one. I mean, I'm obviously biased, so I could be the trainings, but that seems kind of lame. I can do better than that, I promise. I honestly, there are just so many amazing programs to pick from. I'm learning more about our senior program, and it's incredible, the amount of things we offer. One thing I will say though is I think our family program is really special to me. Family programs obviously include a lot of youth-driven things, But it's also a lot of like education and support groups for parents and caregivers and family members who are supporting a queer and trans youth in their life. I also think there's a lot of really wonderful things in our family programs that support intergenerational conversations and support. So like we have a grandparents group, which I think is the cutest thing ever. So grandparents of again, like a grandchild who maybe just came out as trans or is still exploring their sexuality. And we do a lot of really wonderful community events too that again are like very intergenerational. It's really amazing to see youth interact with the seniors that are involved in our programs, or just, really anything. So I think we've had some events in the past that have been really, really fun. Like we had a drag queen and vaccine and drag story time and like all these things event. And it was just really wonderful to see LGBTQ plus communities like over all ages participate together. So if I had to pick one, I would say that for now, but there are also just like so many other wonderful things I think we do at Spahr.
No, of course, and that's totally understandable. The next question is, how do you reach students in middle school and high school?
Oh yeah, we reach students in a lot of different ways. So like specifically in my trainings, I do middle school and high school student panels. So I usually like connect with kids that are in our youth groups, or I work with schools a lot in trainings. And so sometimes I'll interact with students there and see if they want to participate in a panel or like something like that. A lot of my work is with schools, so it's kind of an easy way for me to be tapped into the school culture and students who really do want to get involved. But in other programs, they're involved in a lot of ways too. Like we offer therapy through our mental health program, and we have support groups and therapy at actual school sites, but then also like at our office too. So again, there's other ways to reach students through schools and yeah, just like in more social settings. Yeah, and then we're also always looking for volunteers and people who want to intern and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we reach students in a lot of ways. And again, through our family programs too, we even if we're talking to a group of parents, like we often end up connecting with their students too. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mavi. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions, but please, look out in the chat, everybody, for those resources and everything. And again, I feel like I definitely learned something new today in terms of how best to support the LGBTQ plus community. And thank you again just for your partnership with Marin 9 to 25.
yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mavi. It's always awesome to hear you speak. Now we're going to move into our lightning rounds, which focus on a lot of wellness initiatives and events led by youth in the Marin community. And the reason for this is that May was Mental Health Month. And so there were a lot of events that were happening in May that we want to recap. So that includes the Wellness Festival, which I'll present about. We also have Barry Liu, who's going to talk about the AIM Research Project, Amari and Madison, who will talk about the Find Your Way campaign, and Annika and Elena, who will talk about the Youth Resource Guide. Okay. Next slide, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the May Mental Health Month Wellness Festival. So this is a wellness event that the Marin County Youth Commission Mental Health Subcommittee hosts every year. And this year was our 4th annual Wellness Festival. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Wellness Festival was hosted on May 6th at Terra Linda High School. And this year we collaborated with Marin 9 to 25, Find Your Way, the Suicide Prevention Collaborative, OD Free Marin, MCOE, and more. We decided that in order for this event to truly be sustainable, we had to reach out and branch out and make it a more collaborative project. And so the agenda included our lived experiences panel where Mavi spoke. Then we had our collaborative art project. And then we had a bunch of different workshops led by community organizations. We had our youth art and film showcase, and then we had lunch, and then a gallery viewing time and community tabling time. And the reason that we have this wellness festival is because the Youth Commission decided 4 years ago that the way that we teach about wellness and mental health in schools isn't always appropriate for all people. It doesn't always connect with everyone. And so in this event, we take a new approach to educating about mental health, which is kind of more lighthearted and fun. And so we were really trying to embody that throughout the whole thing. Next slide. Okay, so we had over 100 attendees, and we had 55 art pieces submitted to the showcase. We had an increased attendance from last year. I think we had almost 170 people register online for the event. And then at the end, we had a bunch of great feedback about the program and the Art and Film Showcase Festival. The Art and Film Showcase. And I think some of our plans to address feedback for next year are to increase efficiency and find a more convenient time for the event. Unfortunately, the Saturday that we chose, a lot of kids had or were taking an SAT, and it was also like a weekend right before finals started. So it was kind of a busy time for everyone. And we also hope to increase the amount of submissions we get to the Art and Film Showcase. Next slide, please. Here's some of the art that we had submitted to us. We had 3 prompts, which were, I believe, justice. I don't remember the other 2, but we had 3 prompts, and they were all about mental health. And yeah, a bunch of the art that was submitted was really, really impressive. Justice, Hope, and Connection. Thanks, Lauren. Next slide. Yeah, are there any questions about the event? Thank you to anyone who's on this call who attended.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sammy. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Gabby. I have the pleasure of working with Sammy on this event. I specifically work with Lauren under Blue Path Health, and I help support Marin 9 to 25 and Find Your Way, which you will be hearing from soon. And my connection to Marin is that I graduated from Dominican University of California in 2021 with my bachelor's in global public health. Currently getting my master's in public health. My passion is truly as a youth advocate, always and forever. I've been in Sammy's position before and being a part of a youth community organization as well. So this work truly has a place in my heart. And so while the questions are trickling in, one question I have for you, Sammy, is do you have any specific, I'd say, advice that you would give someone who is planning an event like this?
Yeah, for sure. So this was my 3rd wellness festival, but this was our first wellness festival where we really emphasized collaboration and teamwork. And I think something that I wish I had known at the start of this was it takes a lot longer to plan things as a big group than it does as a subcommittee. And so my advice to anyone who wants to do a big project like this is to start early and make sure that the action items that you want from each person helping you out, make sure it's like extremely clear and communicate well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And so one of the questions from the chat is if you could talk a little more about Marin County Youth Commission.
Yeah, so MCYC isn't a group that's specific to TL. I actually go to Marin Academy. The Youth Commission is basically the origin of the commission is that it's a group of 23 young people whose role is to act as a voice for young people in Marin County when the Board of Supervisors is voting on an issue that affects youth. And then throughout the year, the Youth Commission splits into different subcommittees. So this year we had Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs Subcommittee, Housing, Education, Equity, Disability Justice, and the Mental Health Subcommittee. And each subcommittee has a chair. So I was the chair of the Mental Health Subcommittee. And each subcommittee puts on different community events throughout the year. And the Mental Health Festival's main event is the Wellness Festival. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Sammy. Also, I know Lauren put a link in the chat if anyone else would like to learn more. And so I know this event was all around youth wellness, youth mental health. And so I wanted to know if you saw any trends or themes that emerged during this event pertaining to youth mental health.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really feel like our main theme for the event was strength and connection. And I really think that throughout the event, we were seeing that just in the way that the young people were interacting with each other. I got to walk around at the end of the event and see everyone having lunch and engaging with our community tables. And it just really looked like all of the youth were talking to each other and hanging out. And I was seeing, people form friendships at the event, which they wouldn't have been able to do without it. So I think that it was really clear that we had achieved our goal of having a positive impact in the wellness of Marin youth.
Yeah, I truly agree. I helped support the Find Your Way table, and all the feedback that we got was super positive. And especially, I want to also iterate that the Wellness Festival wasn't just limited to youth. Adults were able to come as well. And the adults that spoke to us again, just had really great feedback, and they really felt that, this is a really important event to have for the whole community. And I think it really made an impact. And so lastly, do you have anything exciting to share about next year's event?
Just that hopefully we'll be working with the same people, and that it'll be a bigger event. And if you're interested in attending, I'm sure that you'll find resources in a year on the Marin County Youth Commission Instagram, the Marin 9 to 25 Instagram. And yeah. Oh, and then also, if you are interested in applying to the Marin County Youth Commission, applications are open now. I can send the link in the chat. It's also on our Instagram. And yeah, if you're interested in helping put the event together, that's available to you too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sammy. And so moving on, we will be actually talking about Find Your Way. Or not Find Your Way, the AIM Youth Research Project.
Okay, so Barry Lou was supposed to be here to present in person, but unfortunately they couldn't be here. So instead, we have a video to show about their work on the AIM research team. And Jenny Lang and Pamela Clemens will be answering questions as part of the Q&A after the video.
Barry Liu, and I am an AIM Youth Ambassador. Today, I will be talking about the research project that we did. We had multiple objectives during this research project. First, to discuss youth mental health and emerging issues and brainstorm ways to address the crisis with teams from other high schools. Second, to learn about qualitative and quantitative scientific research. Third, to conduct peer-to-peer research mentored by youth mental health researchers and professionals. 4, to collect, compare, and analyze research with the findings of AIM Ideas Lab across multiple counties. 5, to bring the youth voice to the table by presenting ideas, research, and recommendations via identified channels. And 6, to drive the next phase of investments in youth mental health research by making recommendations to the AIM Scientific Advisory Board for the most impactful youth mental health research for the future. So in this process, we surveyed many kids from Marin to create a survey. So how do we create the survey? We built around 4 central research topics. First, what are mental health challenges that Marin County teens are facing? Second, what causes or worsens these mental health challenges? Third, what are some ways to support the mental health of Marin teens? And fourth, how might we encourage Marin teens to access mental health support? We brainstormed and discussed possible responses to these questions and formulated the questions in the survey based on them. Next, survey contents and distribution. The survey was distributed this year from February 17th to March 13th via word of mouth, text message, social media, and in select schools. A total of 234 youth in Marin County completed the survey. The survey consisted of 15 quantitative and 2 qualitative questions and were analyzed by the youth researchers to form conclusions and recommendations for the next steps. We have many key findings that we gained from the survey. First, the majority of respondents believe that it's very important to address youth mental health. As you can see in the pie chart, 75% of respondents agreed that it is very important to address youth mental health. Next, currently, youth are unlikely to reach out to adults at school or support hotlines when they need mental health support. Schools in Marin must do more to provide their students with mental health resources, including having enough counselors, ensuring that students are developing relationships with their counselors, having a wellness center, and making the youth more aware of the available mental health resources. As you can see, counselors and teachers at school were addressed as being very unlikely to be reached out to if a student was in need of support. Our next key finding was that anonymity is of high importance for youth when seeking out mental health supports. This can be an issue if youth don't know when certain mental health supports are anonymous or not. When it comes to reaching out to a mental health talk line, knowing seems to be a prevalent factor in several of the top responses to encourage youth to seek out support. As you can see, 71% of respondents agreed that having an anonymous line is one of the most important features to reach out to a support line. So what do we do with these findings? Well, we presented these findings at the 2023 AIM Youth Mental Health Symposium in our youth panel. We worked in collaboration with our fellow researchers from Monterey County, where we presented our key findings to a room full of experts, counselors, journalists, parents, and students. If you are interested in joining this program or similar others, please go to aimyouthmentalhealth.org/volunteer if you're interested in similar opportunities. Thank you.
Awesome. That was a wonderful presentation. Now we will be taking questions. It will be specifically Jenny and Pamela. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you two could briefly introduce yourself to everyone, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Liang, and I'm here with AIM Youth Mental Health. I don't think Pamela's here.
I am here.
Hey.
So my name's Pamela Clemens, and I am working with AIM Youth Mental Health as well. I live in Marin County, and I mentored the students who were doing the survey this year, including Barry, who was fabulous as a 9th grader. I'm so proud of him for making that presentation to cover for him not being able to be here. And we wanted to know, well, if any of you have any questions, if you could put them in the chat. And while you're putting questions in, I can tell you that one of the main focus of AIM is research on youth mental health. There's a lot of information out there, and fortunately, it's even growing for mental health, what can be done in terms of medications and different studies and things like that. But there's not as much available for youth, things that are applicable specifically to youth. So we've been, one of the outcomes of this is having youth do research on their peers or with their peers by creating the surveys and analyzing the data. So I'm just going to check the questions here.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay, Pamela. I have the questions covered.
Great.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you so much for you both introducing yourself. And so I know that youth can join the AIM group, and I was wondering, is there any plans to reach more youth in Marin?
Absolutely. We are hoping to get more public school students involved next year. In the fall, we'll be looking for students to sign up for doing the research again. And then in February, March is when we train the students about how to do the research. They create their survey, and we go through the process of fielding the survey and then help the students analyze the data and make presentations about it. So like Barry did for you guys for this meeting.
Awesome. A question from the chat is there a plan to share publicly the entire results of the survey? This real-time data is incredibly helpful for public health planning processes.
So publicly, it's available if anybody wants it. We can certainly share it with anybody who's interested in seeing it. I will be sharing it in the fall with actually I could probably do it in the summer with a district office of education. And yeah, so, and then anything else that the students come up with that they want to share it, because it's a student-driven program.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a research report for the data from Marin County that we can share with members of this team, and you can help distribute it with all the entities.
Nice. And so were there any limitations or constraints to the research project that may have impacted the scope of the youth's findings?
Well, one of the limitations was that we only had students from independent schools, so that they were able to reach out to friends who attended schools in the public schools, but they were definitely underrepresented in our study this year. So that's the main thing we really hope to change. Otherwise, the survey is designed not like the CHIC survey where it asks the students what they are going through, but it asks the students if your friends have talked about these things. Because if students are doing the research, then we don't want to put students in a situation where they aren't trained to handle being of a support to their peers. So we try to be careful about that. And so I guess that I would say is another kind of a limitation. Jenny, did you want to add to that?
No, I think that was perfect. And just so everyone knows, this past year, this was our first year in doing this Ideas Lab in Marin County. So we're definitely looking to grow and receive feedback from the youth and how to continue moving forward in Marin.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And lastly, are there any specific motivations as to why the youth decided to conduct research on this topic? I know Barry touched on it during his presentation, but wanted to know if you guys knew more.
Well, a lot of it's motivated by the youth being able to have a voice in what is done for youth mental health. We adults think so much that we can figure it all out and make it happen and make everything work, but we really are not speaking the same language as the kids. And so to have the information directly from the students is just huge. I mean, so for example, Barry mentioned making sure that there's counselors available and that students know what counseling is available. But the kids were noticing from the comments that students made in the survey, because there's a couple questions where they can say, what should we do? Or say where they can say what we should do. And it was really strongly emphasized that kids needed to know their counselors before there was a problem. So to develop those relationships.
And I would just say the idea or the philosophy behind the Ideas Lab is really rooted in youth participatory action research. And it echoes a lot of the sentiment shared earlier by Mavi, a lot of the folks on this call, which is really we need the youth voice, right? This is about being youth-led. Whenever we're talking about youth mental health, we need youth themselves to be at the forefront. So that's definitely what the AIM Ideas Lab is motivated, it's our goal to have youth in this conversation about mental health.
Of course. Thank you both for sharing. That is all the time we have for questions. So thank you guys for taking the time to be here today. I hope you emphasized to Barry what an amazing presentation that he put together for us to see today. And speaking of youth-led mental health awareness, we are moving on to Find Your Way. Take it away, Sammy.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna have Amari and Madison present about Find Your Way. And this is a youth wellness campaign, which is through the county. And we've been working really hard on it for like the past 6 months. And so we're really excited to present about it. Madison and Amari, take it away.
Hello, everyone, and happy Pride Month. So here's a little rundown about what our purpose was. So the Youth Wellness Campaign's purpose is to encourage youth to seek helpful, reliable support and connection. Our mission is to deliver a variety of accessible resources, which are found in our lovely resource guide. This is a movement that was created for youth by youth to ensure a supportive, accommodating, and reliable message is spread. Next slide, please.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Maddie. So we kind of had our design criteria words, which were supposed to lead kind of the direction we wanted to go and kind of led the colors, logo, everything that kind of was involved in making a campaign. And so these words are relatable, urgent, trusted, empowering, destigmatizing, and not cliche. A big one for us, I think, was the non-cliche because as you know, there's a lot of like statements and popular sayings like you matter and stuff like that that are kind of well known, and those are very important and definitely very true, but I think they're a little overused sometimes. And so people kind of brushed past it, and we wanted to make a campaign that was impactful so people would kind of look at it and use it. So we went with Find Your Way, and next slide, because we'll kind of show you the process. So there were lots of kind of things we wanted to work out. And so we had different ideas like way, find your way, wellness action for youth. And we ended up with Find Your Way. These are a lot of our different logo designs. And our logo, we wanted it to stand out, kind of draw people in. And it was kind of very important because it's the first thing people look at. And next slide. And then this is the one that we ended up on. And we chose the arrow because this is a campaign that's supposed to fit for everyone. And there isn't one direction that we're supposed to take everyone in. It's kind of like everyone needs something different and unique. And so find your way to like where you want to be, to what you need. And so we kind of added that arrow. So it's wherever you need to be, wherever you want to go. And so this is our Find Your Way youth campaign. So yeah. Oh, wait, next slide, I guess, is the questions. Oh, and then these are all of our socials, so definitely go follow those.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you two. I obviously have had the pleasure to work with these two amazing ladies and honestly our whole group for Find Your Way. And as they mentioned, it has been a process, but a super fun one. And so speaking of that, I was wondering if you two could pick a word or words you would use to describe your experience and Find Your Way so far.
I think, at least for me, welcoming would be the word. There's a lot of people. I think I'm the only one from Redwood, so it's really nice to meet new people, and everyone who we got to work with was so welcoming, so nice, and really kind of open with their ideas, which kind of motivated me to share my ideas and we're more vulnerable with all of our ideas. No one was judging anything you said, so you could really throw it out there. And I think that was really helpful in the process, and everyone was super fun. It was kind of like a little family. So yeah.
Amari, did you want to answer?
Oh, of course. Love to answer. So one word, there's millions of words. I can write a full paragraph, whatever. But one word for me that sticks out is definitely family, because I loved going to studio every single Monday and having good earth sandwiches and burritos and really spending time with these lovely human beings. I'm the only one from Novato, So it was kind of not scary at first, but it's just like really great to be around all these amazing, lovely human beings that share the same interests as me. And I feel like I was even like supported. Like I can have a really bad day or something, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm at the studio, and I was automatically, I felt better. So I'm really proud of this whole campaign and how much work that we have done. And I'm really proud to be part of Find Your Way.
Oh, that's really great to hear, you guys. I jumped into Find Your Way back in March, and I really want to emphasize what Madison and Amari are saying because I totally feel the same way. I would also want to add that it has been a thrilling experience in terms of meeting these youth and sort of being able to take action with what they have, and with my role it has honestly been amazing to turn their dreams into reality. So really happy to have you here today. And so moving on to the next question, what type of partnerships or collaborations would you like to work with in the future to help you guys?
I think definitely schools because it is for youth. And so I think kind of getting the word out there. And I think we're planning on having tabling this fall at some schools and try to like get people to, know Find Your Way so that they can use the resource guide that everyone has worked so hard to create. So I think that would definitely be a fun partnership with public schools, private schools, the whole shebang, all of Marin.
So I think schools would be great. I think also psych wards would be really beneficial for those teens who are struggling, trying to find hope, because we want them to find their way. So I think it would be really beneficial for them to find out this youth campaign that's ran by people in Marin, but also it can be for people who are not from Marin because this is accessible to everyone around, the world, because we have our Instagram and TikTok and social media. So definitely schools, but also psych wards would be really great.
That's awesome. Thank you both for highlighting that. Next question is, for all those who may be interested in this call, what would you like potential members to know?
Okay, I'll go first. So we want them to know that it's totally okay to be yourself and that you are welcome regardless of who you are, and that your ideas matter, your voice matters, and we just really want to have a good time together and be your second family.
Yeah, kind of to build off what Amari said, she said it kind of really lovely. And I totally agree. I think really being yourself and kind of representing who you are, your emotions, and what direction you want to go with, because we kind of want as like diverse of opinion as possible to try to represent as much as we can of Marin, because everyone wants different things wellness wise. And so just kind of be yourself, and definitely want you to be there. So
Awesome. Yeah, I would also like to add for me that Find Your Way, is open like Marin 925, ages 9 to 25. And as someone who is 24 years old, I definitely have felt included within this space. And I want to let everyone know that that this is a space not just for high school students, that anyone ages 9 to 25, or specifically, sorry, 12 to 25 can join. Um, and especially being able to vocalize what it is that you feel very strongly about in your community, which seems to be a strong running theme in this meeting. So thank you both. I believe there wasn't any questions in the chat, so we can move on to the next slide.
Can I add one quick thing about the campaign?
Go ahead, Sammy.
Okay. Yeah, so basically this was really just the start of our campaign, and we are fully expecting this to be something that is around for a really long time. And so if you are a young person who is interested, like Gabby said, in making a real change, and especially if you're a young person who maybe has some creative talents that you don't know what to do with, we would love to have you join the campaign. We need youth to continue to participate in it in order for it to continue to exist. And we've spent a really long time these past 6 months figuring out where we want it to go. And now that we've done that, it's time to actually take it to those places. So we need young people to help us do that. So if you're interested, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a super amazing experience, not only because of the work we do for the community, but also just personally, I've learned so many cool things. I learned how to use Adobe Illustrator. I learned what the process is for creating branding materials. So yeah, it's a really cool thing that we do every week.
Thank you, Sammy. Yeah, and so as mentioned, one of the big projects that Find Your Way has been working on is our youth resource guide. And so we have Annika and Elena who are speaking with us today. And feel free, Sammy, if you want to add anything else. No, you're good? Or okay, awesome. Okay, take it away, Annika and Elena.
So my name is Annika Palmer. I go to Tamales High School. I was also a part of the Find Your Way campaigning and branding, but I also worked on the youth resource guide along with Elena, who is here.
Hi.
Elena, do you want to introduce yourself and then we can go?
Yeah, sure. I'm Elena. I use she, her pronouns, and I just graduated from Santa Fe High School. And I have also been working on this resource guide for quite a while. Do you want me to start with the history stuff?
Yeah, the next slide, please.
Is there
Sorry,
another slide?
slide after that.
Okay, cool. So a few years back, I started to work with Nancy on the, what was it? On the crisis text line stuff for Marin. And then there was this the fentanyl event and this call to action. And that kind of kickstarted this whole thing. And I started working with her, Nancy and all the other interns and Talia and Annika and all these people on this resource guide to, address the needs of youth in terms of tons of different areas. It ended up expanding to be this huge thing that all started with this suicide prevention team wanting to call to action about fentanyl. And it became this thing for all types of people dealing with all sorts of things, because we really were trying to create a comprehensive resource guide. So there is this physical and digital version. The physical version is a kind of like a gateway to the digital version. It has QR codes to the digital version and is really like a welcome to help people feel comfortable reaching out for help. A lot about advocating for people to self-advocate. And my part in a lot of this was collecting testimonials from youth in Marin that go along with our resources to show people that there are others out there who are their age who are struggling with similar things, whether it's coming out or dealing with substance abuse or, all the range of mental health things that can be going on. And so some of those are in the printed version and then there's the digital version, which is this amazing software program where you can put in what you're dealing with or what your friend is dealing with, who you want to help out. And they will send you to resources, both if you were saying somebody's struggling with not knowing how to tell their parents that they're gay, it would, take you to general things like the Trevor Project, but also local things where you could talk to somebody in person, like the Spahr Center or Huckleberry, all those sorts of things. And now it's finally launching. So we have both the physical and digital version pretty much done. Yeah, it's very exciting. It's taken us a while, and I feel that all this time and effort has really paid off.
Yeah, so to go a little bit more into depth about the categories, could you go to the next slide? We had 8 categories in total, and basically on the website, you would be able to click on any of these different categories, and we would have locally like specific organizations that would help you with your issue, or like Elena said, like wider organizations such as the Trevor Project and things like that. So we had 8 different categories, including substance use and recovery, mental health, physical health and safety, sexual health, basic needs, LGBTQ+, immigration, and then academic and career. And then when you go on the website, which go to the next slide, you would click the get started button, and definitely there's a bunch of different prompts that you can go through, and basically it's just a really interactive kind of guide to not only help all youth that look at it, but those specifically in Marin, because it's a lot of localized resources. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both. I have had the pleasure as well as working on the resource guide. My role in it was to really gather and vet the resources that the youth put together. And I have to say, there are so many out there. And again, I think this meeting just emphasizes how many resources are out there to help youth in Marin. Again, ages 9 to 25. I also want to add that the resource guide has resources in Sonoma as well. We saw that that was a need because some youth who go to school in Marin live in Sonoma County specifically. And so with that said, the first question I have for you two is, as a Marin youth, where do you see this resource guide being most helpful?
I guess I can take that. I personally, throughout my time at Santa Fe, I had seen kind of this big gap in access to help, because, you know, most of my friends who are wealthy would just get therapists, and then would, like, you know, it was still difficult, but they could work through whatever they were dealing with, you know. And then when you look at the other side of the spectrum, when there were a lot of kids who didn't have the financial ability to get support outside of school, they would all turn to the wellness center, which is great. And I love the SR Wellness Center, but it does not have the capacity to handle everybody. And I think this resource guide will be super helpful for the wellness centers at our schools to have, so that kids can have access to help more in a 24/7-ish manner and in a more diversified way, so that there's always support for them, even if they're not at school, or even if counselors aren't available or whatnot. So I really see it being helpful in that regard.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. The next question I have is from the chat, and it's, what is some advice for people who might also want to build their own comprehensive guides, or for researching these organizations in detail?
I can take that one. So this in a whole was a very large project. We worked on it for over a year. And the work that went into actually going through and finding these organizations was very tasking. It was really fun, but it was like we needed accurate representations from every part of the county, and also, as Gabby said, moving out into Sonoma County as well. So it was definitely a tasking thing, but I think advice that I would give is look into the people around you, because we had in our group, we had people from, I believe, 2 from San Rafael, and then I myself go to Tamales. So, and there were a few other people who I don't necessarily remember what high school they went to, but I know that the county was widely represented in that space. So I would definitely look to the people around you for resources they might already be using or have connections to, and really collaborate.
Great. Thank you, Annika. And my question is, what are some key features or components of the resource guide that make it stand out from other similar resources available for young people?
I think the digital version is, I think it's the physical and digital combo that is so cool, because I think the physical version is such a great introduction to like taking care of yourself and reaching out. And it's just very welcoming, with from the design to the testimonials that are in it, to like the opening being from somebody who's worked with the suicide prevention action team for a really long time. I just think it's very welcoming. And then the digital version, I think the piece of it that you can put in specifically what you need and get out specifically what you need is so much more helpful than like a list of resources that a school hands out or that an organization hands out. It's just so much more effective, in my opinion. And it's also super comprehensive in all of the types of issues we're addressing. And you can see it's just so much is covered, but you specifically have to choose exactly what you're looking for. So it's not a burden to like read through this long list. And I think that's helpful when people are already feeling burdened.
I would also love to add like a nifty little thing that's actually on the digital resource guide is, as the AIM project said, that a lot of students don't want, they when seeking help for mental health struggles, they always look for a privacy aspect. And within the digital resource guide, there's actually like a cool little logo at the top with the organization, and it will tell you if it's private or not private, I believe. So I think that's really cool as well.
Yeah, I would also like to add that these resources also have what assurances they accept listed, or if there is no need for insurance, if it is a free service that they offer. And, obviously, as time goes on, we would want to update and enhance the resource guide in any way. So that's why Lauren mentioned in the chat that we will be having a form for people to fill out in order to add resources and or provide any feedback or edits. So thank you both for presenting on this amazing resource guide. Please make sure to check it out. The link is in the chat, but it is also live on Marin 925's website on the Find Your Way page. Awesome. So moving on to the next slide, I will be presenting scholarships along with Sammy and Jessica. So you can move on to the next slide. So the Find Your Way Scholarship, which is what I'm sure you all are wondering about in terms of trying to join Find Your Way. So it is for youth ages 12 to 25. You get a $500 scholarship from October to July. Applications are due September 19th. And applications will go live soon. So I highly recommend that you follow us on our social media, subscribe to our newsletter on our website as well. And the requirements for the Find Your Way Scholarship is that you participate in some type of community initiative or internship. And if you are not a part of that, then you can join our two other youth action teams, which is OD Free Youth Action Team and our Youth Visioning Group, Find Your Way Visioning Group, sorry, which Sammy and Jessica will speak on after, as well as join our quarterly steering committee meetings, complete quarterly surveys, attending the Wellness Festival in May, and participating in 2 check-ins with a Marin 925 staff member. If there's anyone in here who knows about our previous setup with our Youth Visioning Work Group, this is our new launch for this upcoming school year. And so I want to emphasize as well that our scholarship program and the requirements are the way they are because we want to make sure that youth have access in terms of being a part of it, especially if they can't make any in-person meetings, that they would still be able to get a scholarship. So you can move on to the next slide and take it away, Sammy.
Thanks, Gabby. So our next group is the Find Your Way Visioning Group. And so some of the activities that this group will take part in are collaborating with other youth on community activities and events, providing feedback on county projects and youth wellness programs, overseeing the Find Your Way scholarship, which is going to be what this group's main objective is, promoting the Find Your Way resource guide and the May Mental Health Month Wellness Festival and other wellness initiatives, and setting the agenda for Marin 9 to 25 steering committee meetings like this one. And the requirements for participating in the visioning group are to complete the scholarship application and to join 2 in-person meetings a month. So the youth visioning group is a larger commitment than the regular scholarship. And the idea behind these 2 groups is that there's a lot of organizations in Marin that do similar work. And so what we're trying to do with Find Your Way is to connect all people from these different organizations so that they can work together and collaborate on events and initiatives in order to have a larger impact. So applications are due September 19th. And yeah, if you're interested in the Find Your Way scholarship and you want to have a leadership role, then you should apply for the Find Your Way visioning group. Next slide, sorry.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I've been part of the OD3 Marin Youth Action Team for about 3 years now. And to give like a background on what OD3 Marin is, it's basically like a community organization that is dedicated to reducing harm from prescription drug abuse and saving lives through like preventing overdoses. And the Youth Action Team is one of OD3 Marin's like committees, and it's dedicated to empowering teens to overcome the opioid crisis. So if you were to join the OD3 Marin Youth Action Team, some of the things you would do would be attend virtual monthly meetings that are on the first Thursday of every month. And here you would learn about opportunities like to volunteer at community events to distribute Narcan, and you would also provide input on how to best support teens who are at risk of opioid misuse, and how we can reach out to them and make our outreach like accessible to them. You'd also distribute educational materials, so like flyers and pamphlets about opioid use and addiction, usually at like community events or like tabling events like at farmers markets. That's like one thing that we do. And then you would also be able to conduct Narcan training. So you would learn how to administer Narcan and how to recognize an overdose. And then you would be able to teach other people that same information. And we also promote the crisis text line for youth in Marin. But yeah, next slide. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you both. Again, I want to also reiterate that the $500 scholarship, it won't necessarily, you won't necessarily get more money if you're also joining the scholarship and the visioning group and the youth action team. The visioning and youth action team are there for youth who want to be involved in their community more, or are not necessarily a part of an internship or community-based organization. And as well as also to give youth the flexibility if they can only commit to doing virtual meetings and attending the wellness festival as well. And that's not to say that with just the $500 scholarship that there isn't more opportunities, such as attending this quarterly steering committee. Any youth who attend get $25. Sometimes we also offer gift cards or stipends for those who volunteer for the Narcan tabling as well. We also offer any transportation accessibility needs, like we can reimburse your bus pass, or if you need a ride, like please let us know, because we would really love for people to join our team and to again take initiative in this community and be the change they want to see.
I saw one question in the chat asking how many scholarships we provide annually. And that is, we don't have like a completely set number. This year, I believe we had around like 34 scholarship recipients. And I believe that we are hoping for a similar number this year. Is that right, Lauren?
Yeah, we currently have funding for about 50 youth, and we're constantly looking for matching funding to increase that number. I would just say apply, 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 spread the word as much as you can, and hopefully we can accept everyone who applies. But yeah, last year it was like 38 youth. We're able to get it. 38 youth applied, and everyone was able to receive it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Lauren. I also want to emphasize something that can be a big draw if you're still on the fence about joining is that, especially if you join the visioning group and attend meetings in person, we do provide food as well. I know Amari was speaking earlier about Find Your Way, and we had these yummy sandwiches from Nancy. So, in terms of how long we meet for 2 hours and in person, again, if you want to join the visioning group. And we definitely need people who can represent their school, people from diverse backgrounds would be really helpful as well. Because again, we want to make sure that everyone has a voice. Obviously we can't include the whole community, but it would be great to have a representative of each type of group, ideally. And as well as to make sure that that the youth are compensated for their time. Awesome. So if you have further questions, please reach out to Lauren or me as well. And I think we can move on to the next slide.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna have announcements. So please share any announcements you have in the chat. Things like meetings, events, services, or job openings that you'd like to promote to youth in Marin County. And we will share your announcements in the newsletter as well. And please reach out to Lauren if you are not signed up for the newsletter and would like to be. Our first announcement is that all youth who are on this call who want to receive their $25 gift card need to complete the survey, which I think Lauren just put in the chat. Our second announcement is that our next payer and funder meeting is Tuesday from 4 to 5 on Zoom. You can register to distribute Narcan with OD Free Marin, which will be from June 30th to July 3rd at the Marin County Fair. I think all youth who register will get free admission to the fair. And yeah, let's see, anything else?
Awesome. Yeah.
If you have
Thanks,
any,
Amy.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, if you had anything else to say, go ahead.
Just if you have any announcements, put them in the chat and we can read them out to everyone. And then we have one more announcement from Samantha Klein from Marin County Probation about a grant.
Thanks, Sammy. I just wanted to announce that Marin 9 to 25 is one of 37 new California Accountable Community for Health. So yay. This is a new grant. You may be asking, how do we pay for all these youth stipends? Well, Lauren and the Blue Path team, along with the rest of our co-advisors, one of the things that we do in the background is look for sustainable funding sources. And so we put in for grants that will help continue the efforts of Marin 9 to 25 and specifically support continuing youth stipends and youth activities. So we're really excited about this. It's called Catchy, or I think I'm not supposed to say the E. How did they, I forget, the grant funders changed it to something else. Locally, we're just going to refer to it as Catchy. It's the Catchy grant, but we now are Marin 9 to 25, the Catchy, Accountable Community for Health. And just a couple of sentences about what is an accountable community for health. And ACH is designed to break down existing silos by bringing together many sectors and players within a community to align and transform local systems, all while centering residents' voices in decision-making. Using multi-sector and community-based partnerships built on solid foundations of trust, ACH's empower communities to address persistent and emerging health challenges and social inequalities in holistic and innovative ways. ACHs go well beyond other health coalitions by doing essential work facilitating transformational change, providing much needed structure, alignment, and accountability. Most importantly, they advance the voice of the community in all of their work. So you can see why Marin 9 to 25 was able to succeed in getting this grant. We are so proud of the work that all of the youth in this room are doing and centering your voice and bringing more youth voices into this room. It's amazing work. It's being recognized at the state level. This is through the Department of Healthcare. The official press releases will start to come out. It has quotes from the California State Public Health Official. So if you know Matt Willis in Marin County, his counterpart for the state is proud of us and the work that we're doing, and they are stepping it up and helping to fund us for the next 2 years. So just kudos to you and all of our work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. It is super exciting. Please check out the press release that Timmy dropped in the chat, and make sure to check out all of the other announcements that people are dropping in there as well. And so we can move on to the next slide, which is a huge, huge, huge thank you for everybody who came out today. A big round of applause to our guest speaker, Mavi, and all of the youth that presented today. I think this has been an inspiring evening, and I'm sure that this is only just a snippet of all the great work that the youth are doing in this community, that everyone is doing out here. And so with that being said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Marin 9 to 25 if you would like to work with us or how to see how we can best support each other, especially as we want to see the change in our community. So thank you all.
Quickly, I think there's 2 more announcements.
Sorry.
No worries. An announcement from Mo. Come join Asian American Alliance Marin to celebrate our AAPI community. It'll be Saturday, June 17th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Multicultural Center of Marin in San Rafael. And there's a link in the message from Mo in the chat. It's a free community event. There'll be music, dancing, and performances, and community speakers and resources. Is there one more? Sorry. And then there's a chat from Kelsey, which has a list of fun summer activities for local youth, which if you scroll up, you can find. And I believe that's it. Please remember to do the survey in order to get your gift card. And I think that's it. Thank you all for joining us.